It's the Great Canadian Podcast with Dave and Charlotte.
P-O-D-C-A-S-T. Oh, I was hoping you'd be more cheerleadery. Give me a P.
Charlotte, I feel like that's probably about as cheerleady as you get, and that you'd be kind of happy about that I said that.
Yeah, that's true. I don't get much more cheerleader than that.
I'll see if I can.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast.
P-O-D-C-A-S-T. What's it spell, ladies and gentlemen?
That's more like 50s guy in a news cap trying to sell newspapers, isn't it?
But yeah.
Extra.
That's absolutely what it is. Come and hear all about it.
yeah.
But I feel like
probably the weirdest beginning to a podcast yet.
I feel like that's kind of the approach that I'd take. Like, I wouldn't want to go, because like my normal sort of let's try and be loud voice would sound like P-O-D, and then you're kind of like, you're that guy who's kind of mad at the crowd for not participating more. We all know that guy.
That's your normal loud voice?
Well, yes.
Kind of like a gangster?
Sort of.
P-O-D.
If I wanted to project without like yelling from the throat, because like I'm not going to be able to do that for too long, right? But if I go yelling from the throat, I could do this all day. Which incidentally, that voice is also did we touch on this last week? The girls impersonating guys voice? That's it.
Yeah, we did touch on that last week.
Good times.
Okay, let's first of all, so we first need to start with an apology because we had an impromptu hiatus. We were gone for 2 weeks, and then we randomly posted, because we had recorded the podcast that you listened to last Monday before the hiatus, but then we hiatused, and that's why we didn't mention it, because it was already recorded. So we hereby apologize for the hiatus, but guess what? We're back.
We're sorry, everybody, but we're back.
Yeah. Don't make us feel bad about it, because then we'll make you feel bad about making us feel bad about it, and nobody wants that.
We can be very, very incisive in our emails. Tell them, Charlotte.
Yeah, you don't want that. Trust us.
No.
Hey, Davo, what are you drinking there, bud?
I am drinking. By the way, I already lost the bet. Oliver's no longer sitting him out. He left when I started doing that P-O-D.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't like
He's
that.
So high maintenance. We bet before we started the podcast that Dave could keep Oliver on his lap for the whole thing. He said, "Do you think I can?" I said, No chance. Sure enough.
I was confident. I forgot about the yelling. I don't think I expected to do much yelling. And the look he's giving me right now, I don't think he expected me to do too much yelling either. It's like, what the?
Oh, and he's not coming back anytime soon.
No, he's not. In fact,
so what are you drinking?
I am drinking. Let's see if we can hear it. Hope you listeners can hear that, the ice clinking against the glass. I got a little bit of whiskey and OJ. The reason for that somewhat odd mixture is because I like keeping whiskey in the house, because sometimes if I'm not in the mood for a beer, I kind of just like having...
You're fancy.
I just like having like a whiskey straight sometimes, just on the rocks. Or I also always keep orange juice in the house, and I never have like pop or anything like that. So I mix it with orange juice if I want it to be a little bit tastier.
You're like a health nut. I always have orange juice and no pop.
Well,
who are you?
Orange juice isn't too healthy. But
it's pretty healthy.
I've been rocking that since I moved out. I usually don't keep pop in the house. Good for me.
He thinks he's better than us, listeners.
How you guys doing? Dave coming at you. Much better than you. You know what I will do? I will acquire like just an indeterminate amount of cans of pop. Like I'll keep cans in the fridge and I'll drink them, because I think, can we talk about this later? I think the can is the ultimate pop drinking experience.
Oh my God, David, yes. I already agree with you. I've ranked, I can't believe we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet. Straight up, let's do Coke right now, because Coke's my favorite pop.
Before we
Number one,
Charlotte, what are you drinking? What are you drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking something. I hosted a party recently, and that is a great way to get alcohol left at your house.
Absolutely.
As a hot tip for all you listeners, you're short on alcohol, host a party. People will just leave here. So I've got a whole bunch of very high percentage alcohols sitting in my fridge and on top of my fridge. And I also have a few beers that got left here. And this is Kronenberg 1664 Blanc, fresh and fruity. It's a flavored wheat beer, and it is honestly incredibly delectable.
Kronenberg used to be my jam, although it wasn't the Blanc, which is also good. They had it on tap at one of the bars that I used to play at, and every time we get there, we'd get a Kronenberg, and it was like the lager or the Pilsner, which you don't find as often. The Kronenberg Blanc is the much more popular one. By the way, Blanc or Blanc?
I don't know.
I'll tell you something, because I know that you think I'm kind of like Mr. Pretentious Word Man, and let's be honest, I am. But when I was at Subway, they have a Cordon Bleu sub there, and I was like, can I have a 12-inch Cordon Bleu? And he said, Cordon Bleu? And I was like, yeah. And then I said it again later on in the order, and I pronounced it Cordon Bleu, because who are we kidding?
No, I'm against that, because it says bleu right there. We all know it. We speak French. We're Canadians.
Yeah, but
and if you want to call it Cordon Bleu, why don't you spell it Cordon Bleu?
But it says Blanc, which is pronounced Blanc.
And I pronounce the C?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad to pronounce the C. I don't think it's equivalent to changing bleu into blue.
French speakers, can we get your opinions? I always thought that Blanc, like you wouldn't pronounce the C in it. Blanc? Say Blanc.
Blanc.
Blanc. They probably say
I feel like when you say Sauvignon Blanc, you pronounce the C. Maybe not.
Sauvignon Blanc. Oh my God, you totally do. Or one would. I totally would. I can't refute that. Sauvignon Blanc. Wait, no, I don't. I don't know. I don't know what I say.
It's hard. It's hard. Okay, back to the Coke. Number 1,
yes,
can.
Please. Yeah.
Number 2, fountain pop.
Oh.
Yeah,
All
that's right. I said it.
All right.
Number 3, those special edition glass containers.
Wait, like the glass bottle?
Yeah, that you get sometimes around Christmas time.
Yeah, totally.
And then in last place, because it's just not good, is pop out of a bottle, like a plastic bottle.
Way last place.
Way last place.
Pop
Agreed.
out of a plastic bottle is tantamount to garbage.
The pits. Dave, what are your thoughts on fountain versus can?
Well, I would first I approve of your order, and the can, the ultimate pop drinking experience. Like,
really, it is.
Just tastes better out of the can. Now, for those of you who
It
might be
does.
ready to argue the glass bottle, thanks for coming out. You're really wrong. But
Yeah.
I will put the glass bottle at a solid second place ahead of fountain pop. So my thoughts on fountain pop, honestly, I'm cool with it. Sometimes you can get a bad batch.
Yeah, that's true. You know?
Yeah. Which is
when
always
the mix
disappointing.
Isn't right.
When the mix isn't right. And the
How
mixologists
about
at
when
McDonald's are just messing it up.
What about sometimes when the syrup runs out and it's basically just club soda at that point, and that's a real nightmare. And you look at it, you're like, this looks a little bit too light in color, and then you taste it and you're like, oh, get out of my mouth.
Totally. And what is carbonated, like club soda, like Perrier? Who enjoys this?
I honestly don't. When you go to a restaurant, you say, can I have water? And they say sparkling or still. You want to just go, look at my face, and what do you think I'm about to ask for? Like, sparkling? I don't get it either, Dave. I don't know who's drinking this stuff.
If we have any dear listeners out there who are fans of sparkling water, please, greatcanadianpod@gmail.com. Weigh in.
Let's invite them to come on the podcast. And sorry, you have to come up against both of us. But try to convince Dave and I that sparkling water is the way to go. Because we disagree.
We will.
strongly.
We will make a concession, okay? We will go out and purchase sparkling water in our relative locales, and we'll drink it on air.
Yeah. And we'll compare it to still water. And we all know what we're going to think.
Charlotte, did you know that apparently Canadian still water is just, well, I mean, you probably did know this, right? So I was in Arizona recently, and the water, not so good. Like the tap water. Yeah. I mean,
So maybe that's why people like sparkling water, because it's at least consistent.
oh my God.
Maybe we're just spoiled by our delicious still water.
By our delicious Canadian still water.
Actually, how about this, Dave? Did you ever... I remember on our hockey team, whenever we played in Strathroy, Dad was our hockey coach, and he would always make sure that he filled up the water bottles at home before we went to Strathroy, because I think the arena was on well water, and it tasted like... And you would get on the bench, and you would take a huge swig of water because you're sweating up a storm, and you would go, "Oh, Dad, are you kidding me?" Or like the other ones would say, "Mel," and be like, "You filled up the water bottles in Strathroy," and poor Dad would be like, "Oh, I forgot." But I remember we could never fill up the water bottle. He'll tell us that's true.
That's brutal.
Never filled up the water bottles in Strathroy. Yeah,
I never knew.
So I bet a lot of people from Strathroy are on the sparkling water train,
or just bottled water.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so this adds a whole new element to my water snobbery because I've observed in several households people who just drink bottled water. They'll just be like, "I'm thirsty," and they go get a bottle of water. And this I don't understand because I feel like...
And it comes out of plastic all the time, violating our number one rule of drinking.
Charlotte, still water in a can. Boom!
Right? Whoa, David.
It's not even it's
Whoa,
not a thing.
David.
You can't get that anywhere.
Yeah, you never see that.
It doesn't,
Why not?
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
Why not?
No, I was going to ask if carbonation was like a necessity for like canned, but no, because like all the Mott's tomato drinks and whatnot.
Yeah. All those juices. David, this is how we're gonna make our millions.
This is the great Canadian fortune idea. Canned still water.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be so cold and the can's going to stay.
Yeah.
I'm gripping the arms of my chair tightly, just in pure joy, just in imagining this. Yeah, and excitement.
I really regret that we said this one on air. I mean, our other ideas, it was kind of a joke. Haha, we said it on air. People are going to steal it. But this one's good.
That's wonderful.
This is probably the smartest we've ever been.
Where do you go from here, Charlotte? We still got 45 minutes of podcast to get through here.
I don't feel like we set the bar very high with the podcast at any point, so I'm not concerned about it.
I like it.
So, David, tell me, how has your weekend been? What have you been up to? Give us the update.
It has been a little while. I don't think we've podcasted since Arizona, or maybe we have.
Yeah, I don't think we have either. No, I think we podcasted before you went to Arizona.
We did.
How was Arizona? What were you even doing in Arizona, David?
So I was going to Arizona to play some shows with the Paul McCartney tribute band I'm in. I guess you can go check them out. It's the McCartney Years. I'm in a band called the McCartney Years. It's a fantastic band, and we tour, quote unquote, internationally. We mostly just go to the States, but we have had interest from other nations.
Dave, I've got news for you. The States is international.
The States is a different country. Thank you. We're moving on. I like to just get down on everything I do. Anyways, so we went to Arizona. We had a show in Gilbert, which is like a suburb of Phoenix. It's it's really close, like a half-hour drive or 45 minutes or something like that. It was awesome. Okay, so here's what I have to say about this. McCartney Cup was debuted on this trip. So Dean, the drummer in the band, and one of my good friends who will be appearing on the podcast. Who's going to
come on the podcast so soon. Dean, come on the podcast.
He's got some splaining to do in regards to a recent Facebook post that I made. But anyways.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Dean is a master. The man can just do things with his hands. All right, before we get all weirded out, I'm moving on. I really said that badly. Let's all enjoy a good laugh at Dave's expense.
Sorry, Dave.
No, I have no, I can't say anything following that. That was, all right. So Dean's good at working with his hands.
Not better.
It's not better. He'll be like, okay, so in his example,
he's handsy. Oh no, that's not better.
That's word handy. He's handy.
I'm just kidding.
So
Dean's like the nicest guy too.
He's big time face palms right now because he's just like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? He'll be the kind of guy who'll be like, yeah, I just bought speakers for my truck and threw them in, and they didn't fit, so I had to cut them down a little bit or carve a space into the Jeep. I'll be like, dude, who are you? Cutting into Jeeps and stuff like that and wiring. I couldn't do that. I can maybe learn and do a terrible job of it, but I wouldn't take to it with such vigor.
No.
And such creativity. Anyways, it's the kind of guy Dean is. So McCartney Cup. Dean takes a paper cup and he puts a couple more paper cups into it, but he cuts off the top of those. So we've got a cup that's weighted at the bottom part. sort of like a shuttlecock, right? Puts like some tape and some extra weight in there. I forget what the extra weight is. Something. And now we've essentially got an impromptu shuttlecock is basically what the thing is. But
Right.
it's got like a fairly large surface area at the bottom of like a paper cup sort of thing. The game, you just got to keep it up, baby. Keep it up. And it's
How fun is Keep It Up, though? It's probably one of the most fun games of all time in terms of needing very little equipment and giving you hours of fun.
Keep it up is one of the finest things one can do. That, and if you're tossing something, maybe it only works for frisbee because frisbees can be finicky. But if you're tossing, see how many times you can toss it between you in like a minute or something like that. Then try to break that record.
Or how long you can keep it. Like there's a whole Friends episode where they're tossing a ball back and forth and they end up doing it for like hours.
Classic episode. That's exactly the concept. Yeah, and it is fun for all of you who are like sneering out there.
No, you know what? Nobody's sneering. I think everybody's
I don't
been
think
there.
anyone's sneering. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought that of you, great Canadian listeners. You're all really down to go and play some Keep It Up right now. I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just played Keep It Up, and the best part, it's like 7:00, shows at 8, and we gotta go kind of start getting ready at like 7:30, whatever. We're playing with like the stage crew, is like some really cool guys. One of them was wearing a cowboy hat, which was like,
Of course he was.
welcome
Of
to
course
Arizona.
he
It was good times. He was a cool guy. So anyways, we're playing, and then we got to like 30, something like that, and it was like I think it was like 40, or like we have to break 50 before 7:30. It has to happen, otherwise we're not going on stage. Like, how can we?
Yeah. There will just be no show tonight.
Knowing that we failed at this. So with moments to spare, and it's the best too, because once you break 30, everyone goes really quiet and no one wants to talk.
Yeah.
That's the best part. That's when your nerves are rising and you're just like, oh my God.
The adrenaline starts coursing.
Adrenaline
for
starts
sure.
pumping.
For sure.
And I'm going to have to get a ding, ding, ding sound effect. We got it! We got it.
Amazing.
And then we played a great show. It was a lot of fun.
Because you hit 50.
Because we hit 50.
Those were not isolated events. Like, I'm sure that those people there that night experienced a certain je ne sais quoi, and only the McCartneyers knew what the quoi was.
We'd set ourselves up for that psychological boost, and then we hit it.
Yes.
So
that's good psychology right there.
That's fine
smart.
psychology, folks. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah. You know what else we should take to the bank? Our
God.
music girl. Bring her on out.
You're listening to Dave and Charlotte's Great Canadian Podcast.
Oh, it was a terrible segue into bringing it.
Were you hoping that I would pad it somewhat?
I mean, a little bit. I think it's gonna sound pretty good.
Don't worry, I'll cut out all the bad stuff. What would our can of still water look like? It's got to be gray, right? Or white, maybe?
No. I want to go like blue to evoke feelings of water.
Like a light blue? Like an ice blue?
No, maybe like dark blue fading up into white to give the appearance of like icy water.
Yeah. I like it. So,
Hey,
and that
is
would
now-
kind of keep it looking like too much like Pepsi, because Pepsi is all one shade of blue.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be the only one on the market, so no one's going to confuse it with all the other still waters in cans.
No, but obviously Evian and whatchamacallit there, Dasani are going to make cheap knockoffs, but
Yeah, those fucks.
the Great Canadian still water is going to be the original.
Yeah. The official beverage of the Great Canadian Podcast.
Yeah, I like it. And we'll get it.
Coming at you at a store near you.
We'll get a big athlete drinking it at like the Olympics or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe like Scott and Tessa, since we're like close to where they're from.
I have had beers with Scott Moyer at Barney's.
There you go. And you're like friends with his older brother too, aren't we? We're kind of name dropping now, but it's the truth, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, no big deal. We're friends with celebrities. What?
What up? I went to high school with him.
Yeah, right?
That's not to say that I really knew him. I think we talked a couple times, but whatever.
Dave, is now a good time for me to go on my rant?
I can't think of anything clever to say. Go. Yes.
So we should have like I want to call this segment "Prepare the Mic Drop" sound effect, but did you even get it? I don't listen back to the podcast after Dave puts the sound effects in and edits out the beeps, because I listen to the podcasts and I let him know all the places where, let's be honest, mostly me swears. But
It's true.
I don't really listen to them after, so I never actually hear the hilarious edits that you do. Did you ever find a mic drop sound effect?
I did. I found a very good one, and I had to pay for it, and because I'm a cheap asshole, I didn't. So I improvised one. You know what? It was great. I got like a feedback kind of sound effect. I found one like that. And then you guys can feel free to critique me too, because I don't think it was a great one, but it worked. And the funny thing is I was trying to like, the word for it is Foley, as long as we're learning words about stuff.
Foley?
Foley?
Like Scott Foley?
Foley is when you pretty much like location record sound effects. Like if you need a sound of a guy scratching his ass, you put a mic up to a guy's ass and you get him to scratch it. That's Foley.
Why is that the example that you came up with?
I really couldn't. It's because I was scratching my leg and I wanted...
I was scratching my ass, Charlotte. That's why.
I could have said leg. I could have said a guy scratching his leg. But what would you want an effect of a guy scratching his leg for? Scratching his ass is much more usable.
Why do you want an effect of a guy scratching his ass?
Well, you know, some sort of cartoon show where there's like
all right.
where they're sneaking by a security guard or someone. Then he's like,
okay.
You know what I'm gonna do right now? I'm gonna put my ass up to the microphone and I'm gonna scratch it.
Please don't.
I will spare you
This
guys.
is a family show.
So, yeah, and so for the Foley, the mic drop, I said into the mic, I was like, and I like tried to put like reverb on it so it would sound like a mic drop, but it all sounded really cheesy and no good. So eventually I was like, well, what am I doing here? So I just took a mic and I dropped it. And it sounded great.
A good mic?
Yeah, I dropped it carefully. But I mean, dropping a mic on a hard floor is still dropping a mic on a hard floor.
Yeah.
I'm
impressed. That's dedication.
For all the audio people out there, is an SM58, and you could. There's actually videos online where people shoot them with guns and then see how they work afterwards. They're actually really robust microphones. Yeah.
Oh.
You want to hear the really
FM 68?
58.
I was close.
Yeah, it was close.
Guys, I'm working on an M audio. Is that enough detail, Dave? Will people know what microphone I'm recording on right now?
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's an M audio.
On the M tracks.
It's a large diaphragm condenser there.
With a phantom something.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is about this mic story is that in a rare turn of events, I didn't have my 58 here because I'd gotten a friend to tear down a gig for me, so all my stuff was at his house, so I used my roommate's SM58.
Whoa!
Oh, man.
That's hilarious. That's kind of a move, isn't it?
It's absolutely a move, yeah. Sorry, Mark. I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not.
No, let's hope not. Never encourage him to start listening to the podcast. Also, I feel like we've already cursed a lot on this podcast. I went through last time. There was one swear word, maybe two if we count God damn it. I don't know what we're going to do with that, if we're going to have to bleep that one out now too.
I feel like usually... Sorry?
If we don't count that, there was literally one F-bomb the whole time.
Sometimes we're good. Sometimes we just let loose.
Sometimes we're good. And sometimes we let loose. It's because we're boozing.
Yeah, that doesn't help. It was like a podcast a couple of weeks ago where I was drinking a beer and I didn't realize it was like an 8%. So by the end, I'm like, I'm having a really great time.
You were.
You were talking about... Oh, you had a rant.
I was going to rant.
Oh,
Okay, people.
So yeah, I wrapped up my mic drop story. All right, you may rant.
Here we go. This is all coming to be because, David, do you know what thigh gap is?
Do I know what psi, like PSY gas is?
No, thigh gap, like just below your crotch. Thigh gap.
Oh, thigh gap. Do I know what psi gas is? Yeah, I know what thigh gap is.
And you know this is the thing that women are aspiring to have nowadays? Thigh gap?
Isn't it like mostly in the pants?
No. So it's the thing that if you're a girl and I assume there's got to be some sort of like rule set that you're standing with your feet hip width apart. I don't know. I'm sure there's not that many anatomical requirements on it since it's something that's in like beauty magazines or something like that.
Right.
So basically, I'll warn you, we're going to have to bleep out curse words from this rant. So basically, this is a thing now where if you go on Pinterest, especially, girls are on all of the like fitness posts. It's pictures of girls who are standing, and when they stand with basically their feet hip width apart, there is a gap between their thighs. They don't touch. Their thighs don't touch.
Yeah. It's like a little triangular deal, right?
This is what we're aspiring to have, is thighs that don't touch. And for the longest time, the first time I heard of it, I was like, what the is this? Like, what? This is ridiculous. Like, this is just like a couple people who are crazy about fitness who are going after thigh gap or whatever. Not even crazy about fitness. But then I find out that people, regular people, everyday people that I respect as people are saying like, no, wait, I don't have the thigh gap. This girl has a thigh gap. I need to do exercises so I can get the thigh gap. And it occurs to me that women are actively trying to go after the thigh gap. And as someone pointed out to me, the thigh gap is basically you're on the road to like muscle wasting at the point of thigh gap. Like it does not make sense that based on the size of your thighs, especially if you're exercising, that your thighs wouldn't touch. Your hips are small. And your thighs, if you work out your quads at all, are going to be big. And of course they're going to touch when your feet. And I think even someone told me recently that it's if your feet are touching, you should still have thigh gap. And I mean, let's not even get in to the people who, if their feet are touching, if their ankles are touching, that somehow their thighs are not touching. Like, what is happening up there? That strikes me as really insane anatomy. And then I was complaining about this to someone, and they said, have you heard about the hip bridge? And hip bridge is if you're lying on your back, your underwear or your bikini, this is what you see if you Google it, girls in the bikinis looking down, so you see like the boobs kind of, and then you see their hips. And the underwear is not touching certain parts of their stomach because their hip bones are jutting out that far, because they have that little like tissue down there. And therein lies the rant.
Hip bridge I've never heard of. I just checked it out.
Girls, can we put an end to this ridiculous nonsense about the thigh gap and the hip bridge? Like, maybe this is all because I'm old now, and when I grew up, it was all about having a skinny waist and whatever, and having a nice and maybe these new things are just kind of the new generation's things. But you know what? I feel like it is time to put my foot down and say, you know what? If there are men out there that want the hip bridge or the thigh gap, they can feel free to want them, but these are ridiculous standards to place upon ourselves. These are, to me anyway, incredibly ridiculous aspirations. Like, it makes no sense to want your quadriceps so tiny that your ankle bones can be touching and your quadriceps are that weak. Like, can you even walk if your thighs aren't touching each other when you're standing with your ankles together? I don't believe that size quadricep could sustain you in the standing position. Likewise, if you have a hip bridge, are you ever drinking beer? Are you ever eating pizza? Are you ever eating hamburgers? Do you want to be friends with someone who maintains a hip bridge by being literally the dullest person in the world who consumes no calories ever and is, I don't know, I guess exercising all the time or maybe just never ever eating? Is this what we're to aspire to be as women? And I will take my rant a step further and say that all of these to me are symptoms of all of us hating on ourselves. And I think I've noticed recently, I don't know why, this has just occurred to me the other day as I was walking into my apartment. It occurred to me that I think that people have started thinking that ripping on oneself is what we should be doing all day, every day. That we're not supposed to tell people that we think that we're smart or that we think that we're attractive or that we think that we're hilarious. And that the best thing is to say, oh, you know, I'm not pretty. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh, I'm not good at this. I'm so not successful. I wish I was as good as you. I wish I could was, whatever. I feel like that is very sad to me. And can we please make it the new norm or the new aspiration to think that we are sweet? Like, to go into work tomorrow, if I were to go into work tomorrow and people go, how are you? And me be like, you know what? I feel fantastic. I was really hilarious yesterday on the podcast and I actually look fantastic, don't I? I'm sure if I said that, everyone would look at me funny, and even I would look at me funny. But wouldn't that be a great world if we all walked around thinking that we were delightful? Don't you think that'd be nice?
I think to a certain extent, yeah, absolutely. Now, let's...
And don't you think that all the people that are really, truly horrible in your day are people that are deep down very insecure and that are beating up on other people for their own insecurities? And all the people that I can think of that make my days miserable are people that are insecure. And I like to think, wouldn't my day be so much nicer if these people had some degree of confidence about themselves and then they would stop sniping at me for no reason?
I think so. And not just like, not insecure, but maybe just unsure about like, just unaware of like how they're living like an unhealthy lifestyle, either mentally or like physically.
I suppose, yeah.
Because they might be very secure, but they've convinced themselves that they enjoy leading like kind of a miserable lifestyle. Because I mean,
I don't know. I think the negative people in my life strike me as being very insecure. And maybe it's an academia thing where everybody's got imposter syndrome, where nobody thinks they're smart enough to be in academics. And I don't know, maybe that's like a specific to academics, but to be honest, I'm a little bit sick of it. And I'm not saying that I'm the most confident person in the world, but I feel like I finally hit a point where I don't want to pick on myself anymore. I don't want to look in the mirror and think, oh, my teeth could be a little bit whiter. I'm going to go get white strips. And I wish my eyelashes were a little bit longer. I'm going to get eyelash extensions. And oh, my hair is a little bit frizzy. I should go to the hairdressers. Like, you know what? I think that in general, I'm pretty happy with my friends and my family and my life. And like, I'm going to stop ripping on myself, I think. Or at least I'm going to try.
I think this is a very heartwarming kind of area of the podcast, Charlotte. It started as a rant.
Yeah, it turned into 11. But here's my main point, is that think about this. When you think about, but I could, this is what I think, like, I want to stop calling myself fat. Maybe I'll lose 5 pounds and then I'll stop calling myself fat or whatever. But then you think about your close friends who say like, oh, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not funny enough or whatever. And you look at them and you go, that's ridiculous. Like, this person is so wonderful. Like, this person's so funny and so hot. And you think, like, it's crazy to you that they don't see how amazing they are. And don't you then wonder how many times you complain about yourself and people are thinking that exact same thing right back at you?
I would imagine it just goes all the way down the chain, right?
And don't you think that that's a sad state of affairs when all of us are sitting around thinking how horrible we are, whereas everybody else is sitting around thinking how wonderful we are, and the only person that doesn't realize how wonderful we are is us? Doesn't that seem backwards?
Absolutely.
And very sad?
And so what is what's the fix, Charlotte?
I think we just need to cut this out. You know what? I was having a conversation with some people the other day and they said, you know what? If one of my friends asks me if they look good, I'm never going to lie to them. I'm going to tell them if they don't look good. And I said, you know what? I would never do that, ever. Unless it was something that was immediately fixable and like this hair was out of place.
Right.
My perfect example is someone goes to the hairdresser and gets a bad hair dye job, let's say. And like, it's not horrible, but like whatever. It's a little bit, or they get a bad haircut and it's just a little bit weird and they're not really sure about it. And they come back and they go, and you go, ooh, you went to the hairdressers. And they went, yeah, I don't really like it. And you go, really? I actually like it. And again, regardless of how you feel about it, like, let's say that it's not like they went from blonde to blue. Like, this is just like a bit of a different color, a bit of a different cut. They're not sure about it. And even if it's not your taste, you go, you know what? I like it. I think you look really pretty. I've had this happen on multiple occasions where later on that day, the person you hear them saying to someone else, like, I wasn't really sure about my haircut, but then, Charlotte was saying that she kind of liked it, and I was kind of thinking I like it. And then that next person goes, you know what, yeah, I do really like it. I like this cut here. It hits you here. It looks nice. And next thing you know, by the end of the day, They're liking their haircut.
Finding things to like about it. Absolutely.
Exactly. Now they're looking for reasons to like it, whereas before they were looking for reasons to dislike it.
I think that's the key.
Please explain to me where the harm comes in there. And this is my point, is that unless it's something like your underwear sticking out of your pants or like, something that's like immediately fixable, why is it better to tell the person that they look like crap than it is to tell them that they look like lovely? And now they get to spend their day thinking they look lovely. And now they act confident and they act happy. And that looks beautiful on a person. And now they are beautiful. Because they think they're beautiful. Am I right? Tell me I'm wrong. I think that we don't need to spend time ripping on ourselves or ripping on each other. Why don't we just all make each other feel wonderful?
No, I think there's something to be said for holding yourself to a certain standard, and I mean, having aspirations, having goals, and
sure.
I mean, if you get butchered at I've had buddies, you don't hear this as often from guys, but I've had friends just be like, oh man, I got the worst haircut today. But I like what you're saying anyway, Charlotte, because it really doesn't matter. Because you can sit around all day and find things to dislike about it, or you can find things to like about it. And that's really just the only two options. You can be aware of it because, it is what it is. But you can also kind of find things to like about it so that, you can go back to being confident again. And really, that's where the attractiveness inside a person kind of comes from.
Yes.
Anyway.
And let's be honest, everybody. I mean, I don't know who you think is really attractive. Let's pick like George Clooney. I'm sure George Clooney can look at the mirror and find reasons to find himself unattractive.
I think that's a good example because most guys would think, well, I'm never going to be as good looking as George Clooney. And old Georgie boy there, he probably doesn't go around all day thinking, I'm the handsomest guy there ever was.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if I found out that he thought that. And if he does think that, good for you, George, because you sound like you got a lot of self-confidence, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, what's the problem with self-confidence? Why are we trying to like beat ourselves up? Why is that like the noble thing to do?
I think that's part of it. And I think in a lot of ways, it's sort of like vindicating seeing yourself as like a victim.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because then you can be sort of like a tragic, sort of misunderstood character, right? Whereas...
Yeah, sure.
But, and not that that's... We all kind of fall into those funks every now and then. But, I mean, really, I think you tend to come out of that sort of thing only feeling worse because you've just kind of compounded the bad feeling about yourself by identifying as that. By identifying as someone who's, like, tragic and misunderstood instead of just looking at the positive sides of yourself.
And, I mean, like, who do you like hanging out with? A friend that thinks that they're tragic and misunderstood, or the friend that walks around with confidence? I will center out one girl in particular whose name is Sonia, and she probably was my big turning point in terms of why don't we just live life building each other up and thinking that we are hot? And Miss Sonia is probably the most positive person in terms of, she's the one that comments on your Facebook pictures and says, just the other day, someone posted a picture of me and she commented underneath it, Charlotte, you're so beautiful.
Oh.
And like, she's just the girl that all she wants is for her friends to be happy and confident and for her friends to be friends with her other friends. And she just wants everyone to be, and she works at making everybody happy all the time. And I realized what a huge difference it made in my life to have Sonia there, building me up and building my friends up. And I thought, you know what? I want to do that. I want to bring that into people's lives. So Sonia, you're pretty sweet.
Good on you, Sonia.
You're pretty good.
Pretty good. Want to hear from our pretty lady?
Let's bring her out.
You're listening to Dave and Charlotte's Great Canadian Podcast.
That was a good heartwarming second segment to the podcast. Nicely done, Charlotte.
To bring it back down to earth, we're going to have to rush to the last segment because I crushed my Cronenberg and I have to pee.
Oh, geez.
We're back down to earth here.
We are moving on. David has been practicing accents lately, but not too much.
Ooh, what do you got?
I've been working on my Australian. I really don't have anything better than that.
Here's my Australian. This is, I think, everybody's go-to Australian. Maybe the dingo ate your bed.
Okay, so I'm gonna like do them. I know that was embarrassing. Shut up. I'm working on it because I'm gonna come back every podcast and it's gonna be better.
Aren't there, I watched a BuzzFeed recently of like different words that you say together that makes it sound like you have an accent.
Exactly. These are like the phonetic pronunciations that I'm interested in.
Yeah. I know that, so the video was like they were given phrases to say, and I can't remember any of them, so sorry, this is going to be a stupid example, but they would say them, and then they had to say them over and over again, and then they had to realize what they were saying in someone else's accent. You know what I mean?
No.
It's kind of hilarious.
What do you mean?
Because like, so they'd be saying a phrase in 2 English words, but then when you put those 2 English words together, it turns into saying like, I don't know, something in another country's accent.
I see. Okay, so 2 English words, and then you put them together. Okay, so if we had like MY space EAT, Charlotte,
Yeah.
Charlotte,
Mate.
But that's the thing.
Mate?
Then when you tried to say mate in an Australian accent, you said it different, but it's just might.
Mate. Good on you, mate. How was that?
Hi there, mate. Except I'm told that mine sounds more like New Zealand than Australian. I think that's because I watched a lot of Flight of the Conchords, guys.
Oh, that's a good show.
Amazing show.
I haven't watched that in a long time.
Apparently, Jermaine. It's actually Jermaine, not like Germaine, which is kind of funny. Yeah. Apparently, him and the guy who played Murray have a new show coming. No, a movie. Sorry, coming up.
Get out.
Right. But no Brett.
No Brett. He, more fun facts from Dave and Shar. He won an Oscar, I think, because he wrote the song for like the Muppets movie or something like that.
Really?
The theme song for the Muppets movie a couple of years ago,
Actually,
or a few years ago. Yeah.
I think I remember reading about that. Yeah. Good on you, Brett.
Right?
I always found the Flight of the Conchords tunes to be good compositions. Yes, Charlotte.
Speaking of music, David, I hate to put you on the spot here. Did you listen to that BBC One Live Lounge guys covering Taylor Swift?
I did.
And?
Pretty awesome. The man, like he's going all like flamenco and stuff like that, and he had kind of like a cool like indie voice. It was good.
How does he do the thing where it sounds like he's hitting like a million different notes at once?
He's just hitting
What's that all about?
He's just hitting a million different notes at once. I don't know, like flamenco guitar is like its own sort of thing.
Is that what he was doing? Flamenco guitar?
It could like it was probably like a hybrid of like classical guitar and like flamenco sort of thing. Okay, I don't know a lot about either. I'm more of like a like a rock guy. But anyway,
right.
Classical and flamenco are both played on like nylon string guitars. That's what he was playing. And you'd recognize the sound. For those of you who don't know what a nylon string guitar, you'd recognize like the sound of it. And yeah, he's just he's using all his fingers. So instead of using like one pick like most guitar players do, where you can only do so many notes at once, he's playing with his fingers. So he's doing like a bazillion notes at once. And he's holding chords and just picky. So that's kind of what's happening.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So were you impressed, or were you kind of like, I was listening to the pod from last week again today. Was it the equivalent of someone singing "Hey Ya" slowly?
No. I would say no, because he was putting his own spin on it. And I don't know what stance I took when I was talking about "Hey Ya." The original guy, good on you, pal.
You said that. You said he was good.
Yeah. So the original guy, cool. And then the rest of the kind of like bandwagon jumpers, like if someone else posted a video of like playing some flamenco guitar and playing Never Ever Getting Back Together, you could be like, oh, cool, good for you. Like that's, tricky to play a guitar or whatever. But I don't know. What's the point, I guess? Like,
Dave, did I ever tell you? That made me think of one time when I went to the Mr. Barney's show in London. They always have Miss Barney. So Barney's, if you're not from London, is a very popular bar in London. And they've got a huge outdoor patio. And it's just where you go in the summer. Like, there's really no competition. You don't go to any other bars.
It's pretty awesome.
Barney's.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. And anyway, they have a Mr. Barney's and a Mrs. Barney's every summer. And we went to the Mr. Barney's the one year, and it was hilarious. And one of the I think the guy that maybe won, his talent was to play 3 a.m., by Matchbox 20. It was just him and his guitar. And the girls swooned, and I was just like, ugh, my God, shoot me. And Dave, I want to tell you that I feel like having a brother who, guys, I'm not just saying this as a sister, he's an extremely talented musician.
Oh,
he's very,
stop
very good.
it.
It's true. And you've kind of salted the games of any guys who ever want to like hit on me using music, who go, yeah, I'm into guitar. Do you want to hear me play guitar? Who like bust out a guitar to get together. Like, it just elicits an immediate eye roll, because first of all, you would never do that. Like, if people, I've been around you and your friends when you're all jamming, and that's one thing, but you're never the guy that's like, hey, why don't you come on over here and listen to me play my guitar?
Absolutely.
A, and B, you're talented as and it's going to be extremely hard for anybody to ever be as talented as you. And I feel like it's no one's ever going to be able to make any play with me by playing guitar for me. Well, Charlotte, you really salted that game for the men of the world, Dave.
Well, I just want to say thanks for pumping my tires as much as you have. But
anytime.
I'm glad to hear that, because I've given you kind of an insight into like what is kind of like just like the archetypical sort of douchey guy with guitar sort of persona, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, when you think about it, it's really no different than if you went into a party and you were just like, yeah, I'm a postdoc. I can tell you a lot about the cardiovascular system. The thing is, guitar is just like a little more accessible. Like if a guy's, you know.
Can I also say
universal
that
appeal.
I don't think any girl has ever picked up any guy by being like, hey, guess how many degrees I have? You know what? Recently, I bet
it's happened.
What
if they're both academics?
I meant to tie this actually into my rant that a couple friends were recently talking. We were talking about dating and stuff like that, and they were saying how they don't tell guys that they're postdocs. And I mean, I've had it happen. Guys, a lot of guys get very intimidated when they find out that you have your PhD. A lot of guys.
For realsies?
They go, so you're like really smart then, eh? And I'm like, no, I swear. That's my pet peeve. Like, you don't have to be smart. I know a lot of idiots with their PhDs. You don't have to be smart to get a PhD. You just have to be interested and persistent. But anyway, guys get very thrown off, I think. A lot, not all guys, obviously, and you got to hang on to the ones that don't get intimidated by that, but a lot of guys get very intimidated.
Because they want someone who's like dumb, or they just want to feel like they're smarter? Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But it's so, like, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think having your PhD means you're smart. I think it just means that you chose to spend the last 4 to 5 years working on the exact same thing.
So you could get...
Everybody.
And now you have a title for it.
You could have your PhD right now, Dave, if you just found something that you wanted to work on for 4 years.
Yeah. That'd be like if I told, like, girls, like, I have a diploma for radio broadcasting. They were like, oh, gosh. So you must be kind of smart.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Fanshawe College for 2 years.
As a dude, this is sexism at its heart. As a dude, you could show off about that stuff, and girls will be like, ooh. I knew a guy... I mean, anyone who knows this guy is going to know who I'm talking about, but he was British, and he'd walk around going, I'm a British doctor with blue eyes. I can get away with anything.
Oh, he actually said that?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. And God. But yeah, that would never work for a girl. Like, yeah, I've got my PhD.
It's terrible.
That's the worst. Anyway, I don't know how we came upon this, but just so you know, that does not work as a pickup line. Quite the opposite.
I'm surprised more people didn't see his talent being like see through the fact that his talent was playing 3 a.m. because even like musician or no musician, is that not kind of one of the songs? Like let's make the quick list here. If you're a guy and you play the guitar and you can play either 3 a.m. Wonderwall, obviously. Let's go with Wagon Wheel. I'll even take Ho Hey these days. I don't really think you're convincing people like that you've got a talent. I think it's just something that you did to leverage advantage over your fellow human beings.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's girls that are falling for it. I mean, what can you say? This is what I want to be like. Ladies, please stop Stop giving these guys attention when they do this kind of thing. But
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
A lot of girls are. I'm sure that you get this all. This is why I tease you about groupies all the time. There's a lot of girls that eat that kind of stuff up.
Well, I would.
You know what? Whatever. That's fine. That's fine. Different story. You know what? As someone who prefers athletes to non-athletes, we all have our Achilles heels, I suppose.
Well, in Charlotte, I wouldn't know because I assume that most girls who hit on me are just they realize that they're seeing a true talent. And
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure they do.
So what's your Achilles heel, Charlotte?
Athletes, for sure. Actually, and like just guys being into sports. I recently met someone who told me he was not into professional sports. I was like, okay.
And that was like one of his defining characteristics. Like, here's what you need to know about me. This is what I don't like.
I mentioned like there was a sport on TV, and I said something about hockey, like NHL hockey. It was probably with the Leafs, and he went, "Yeah, I'm not really into professional sports." I'm like, okay, wow.
I feel like
It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to announce with such confidence.
Yeah.
Not that I judge people that aren't into. I was telling a girl that story, and she was like, "Well, I'm not into professional sports." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess. It's just something that I care about, I suppose. Not care about, but it's an interest, and if we can't share that interest."
Am I presuming correctly when I assume that he said it with an air of condescension? Was there an error?
I don't even know if there were. I don't think he realized how big he was going to strike out as soon as he said it. I don't think he knew. Maybe he thought that it was going to get him points. I don't know.
I figured she was
Oh,
a PhD.
really?
I
I bet you're so sensitive. Yeah.
I figured she was
you
a
know
bit
how
of
to
a
play
geek.
3 a.m. on the guitar.
No, actually,
We're such.
I'm really a lot more into Ed Sheeran. And then he'd
Yeah.
like,
Oh, don't throw. This guy would not be into Ed. Don't throw Ed Sheeran under this.
sorry,
guy's bus.
I have to.
You keep Ed out of this.
I feel like Ed Sheeran is now what John Mayer was like 4 years ago. To like,
Oh, it honestly kills me to think of Ed Sheeran ever being lumped in with John Mayer. John Mayer's such a douchebag.
John Mayer's so good. He's so good.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he's a guitarist, isn't he? He's actually very talented.
Yeah, he really is. I
Too
can't.
bad.
Being a guy, I guess I'd probably see. Well, no, I won't even say that. I know that he's done
You know
a lot
what?
of things that are like of questionable.
We don't even know. We don't know. Maybe he's delightful. Maybe he's just he gets a bad rap.
Yeah, John, we don't know. John,
don't know.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, you know what? Dave's a big fan. I think your body is a wonderland. Makes me want to blow my brains out. But other than that,
Yeah, I think John might even feel the same sentiment these days.
yeah. Like, I needed to sell some records. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? I saw a video of him playing Sissy Strut a while ago, which is like an old 60s song by like the Meters, and I was like, John, you make me happy.
John, he really sings to your heart, eh, Davo?
That's right. 60s
John.
funk, I'm all yours. If a guy came up and his talent was, hey, I'm gonna play
Play some funk.
I'm gonna play Hey Pocky Away by the Meters, I'd be like, I'm all yours, man. Like just wherever you want to go, I'm coming.
You
with
had me at the Meters.
Yeah.
Okay, people, I just having listened to the old podcast, which we recorded 2 weeks ago, which we just posted 1 week ago in your time, I realized that there's follow-up required because we did Ask a Scientist, but I realized we needed Jacqueline to weigh in and to clarify some issues, so we're going to follow up on Ask a Scientist next week. So we have no follow-up from last week. We'd just like to welcome you back and apologize for the hiatus.
We hope you
And
forgive
we'll be
us.
back on track.
We'll be back to weekly, baby.
And we've got some visitors. We need Jacqueline on the podcast because you've heard so much about her. Let's get her on. We need Dean on the podcast, for God's sake.
We need Diener on here. Professor Todd, it'd be nice to see him.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of people. We've got Cousin Mark needs to come on for sure.
Cousin
There's a list. We've got, I mean, that's not even half of the people that need to come on this podcast. So they're coming, and the problem is that we go, oh crap, we have to record a podcast, and we go, hey, are you free in a couple hours? And we record these. So we're going to be better. We're going to do better. We're going to be better people for you.
I mean, we're already pretty amazing people, but we're gonna expand.
We're going to step it up a notch.
We're gonna expand our palette. Yeah.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts? It's been an emotional podcast.
Has it? I feel like it's been a drunk podcast and I've been holding my pee for the last half of it.
Oh, jeez. You need to get out.
How? Any closing thoughts from you, David?
Oh, I hope you have a great time doing what I know you're going to do as soon as we hang up the phone here.
Hold on. Closing thought. I have a TOP song.
Nice. A T-O-P?
T-O-P. Okay, stop. I do have to pee really bad. Okay, I've got a TOP song. I just popped up my Excel sheet, and that reminded me that I haven't said it yet. And yes, I made an Excel sheet. This song is a song that I would listen to before all my exams to get myself pumped up. And if I have a particularly stressful day, stressful to the point of like rage at my at people whom I interact with during the day, this is a song that when it comes on my iPod, I go, yes, and I crank it. And often I listen to the last minute of the song. After that minute's gone, I rewind the song and I re-listen to the last minute. It is by a band called Rage Against the Machine, and that song is called Killing in the Name.
As soon as you said Rage, I knew which one you meant.
Yeah. I mean, tell me that you can listen to that song and not get righteously riled up. You can't.
With Cubano Rage and Tom Morello's hot guitar licks.
Yeah, yeah.
No, seriously, that
song's
timeless. It's amazing.
I mean, yeah, so good. And like, obviously, you know the part that I'm talking about at the end.
Absolutely.
We can't say it out loud. We have to bleep a million times, but like, so good. So good. So that's our TOP song of the day. If you need to get riled up, get on that one.
I like it. That song's, and frankly, it's a classic Charlotte song. I'm surprised it hasn't come up sooner.
Yeah. And it builds like all good songs. And you walk around feeling like a bit of a badass. Oh! Even though, like, I'm a white academic working in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm sure I'm not quite who Rage Against the Machine had in mind when they recorded that song.
That's who that's who they did it for, because they're a bunch of like white sort of studious guys too. At least Tom Morello is.
Yeah.
He's got like he's got a PhD too, I believe.
I remember hearing once that some Republican politician, they asked him who his favorite band was, and he said Rage Against the Machine, and that Rage was like disgusted by this and like released a bunch of comments being like, we have no association with him. He obviously doesn't listen to our lyrics, blah, blah, blah. And
wow.
I thought, oh my God, what if I'm not cool enough to listen to Rage Against the Machine?
Wow.
I know. And I like them so much.
Okay, can we make that a follow-up topic for next week?
Sure, to find out about this politician and whatnot?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. I want to say it was like Mitt Romney or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy if he was actually being genuine.
He can't have been. Or maybe just like they said, he doesn't listen to the lyrics. He just likes the
beats. I respect him more. He just likes a good beat.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for joining us for episode 7, 6, 8, something.
God knows.
Episode We're Back.
We'll be back on the ball. Back on the ball next week.
We'll see you then.
It's the Great Canadian Podcast with Dave and Charlotte.